Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 526 based on novel. So let's start. The lion beast below the two of them trembled and revealed a look of horror. It trembled and actually stopped moving. 7-colored light shined brightly behind him like the stars. It was as if someone had ripped this space open and forced the 7-colored light in. Wang Lin's pupils shrank and he stepped forward without hesitation. In a flash, he began moving forward rapidly. Fan Shanlu was the same and moved like a beautiful butterfly behind Wang Lin. While she escaped, she waved her jade-like hand toward the lion beast. The lion beast let out a roar and charged at the 7-colored light as if it was crazy. Fan Shanlu's eyes lit up and she muttered, "Blood sacrifice." The moment she spoke, the lion was covered in a blood-colored light and then exploded into a blood mist. This mist rumbled and then scattered in all directions. Soon, sharp roars came from all directions. The aura of fierce beasts rushed toward the location. Wang Lin was using almost his full speed and moving forward like a ray of light that broke space. He would sometimes fuse with the world and move even faster. Here, Fan Shanlu was a bit faster than Wang Lin. Her cultivation level was extremely high, and although she was injured, she had managed to suppress a lot of her injuries over the years. In a flash, she passed Wang Lin and led the way. She didn't move straight ahead but turned to another direction. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he followed without hesitation. However, just at this moment, a cold snort came from the void behind the two of them. There was no rumble, but a powerful pressure and shockwave came with it. There were hundreds of fierce beasts behind them. They were attracted by the blood mist. However, as the cold snort echoed, they let out mournful cries and were knocked back by a powerful force. As the shockwave spread, the hundreds of fierce beasts all exploded. A few drops of blood and minced flesh flew by Wang Lin, making him even more gloomy. As the hundreds of fierce beasts collapsed, the 7-colored light pierced through. The 7-colored Daoist calmly walked out with his hands behind his back. "Wang Lin, give me the Li Guang bow and arrow." His words were slow, but when they entered Wang Lin's ears, Wang Lin's mind trembled. Wang Lin's body trembled and he coughed out blood. Fan Shanlu grabbed Wang Lin's arm. Her face was pale and she anxiously pulled Wang Lin forward. "I remember you, you are my first concubine. Why are you running from this lord after seeing me?" The 7-colored Daoist's gaze swept past Fan Shanlu. He waved his right sleeve and 9 burning hot red firebird phantoms appeared before him. The 9 firebirds were not vermilion birds, but the heat they gave off was something not even the vermilion bird could compare to. Also, there were faint traces of planet souls coming from these 9 firebirds. They weren't firebirds at all. They were clearly 9 rare burning planets from this cave world that had been refined by the 7-colored Daoist. Or more accurately, 9 suns. At this moment, with a wave of his hand, the 9 firebirds turned into 9 rays of burning light that shot toward Wang Lin and Fan Shanlu. "You block it." At the moment of crisis, Wang Lin could no longer hide his strength anymore. He let out a roar and waved his hand. Fan Shanlu didn't hesitate. Borrowing the power of Wang Lin's wave, she leaped forward. Her hands formed a seal, and after coughing out a mouthful of blood, she let out a sad roar. "Great Soul Dao, draw the soul. With my soul as sacrifice, form a soul to cut off the realm." Fan Shanlu's right hand reached out and the blood she had coughed out turned into a mist that entered her right hand. Soon, it turned into a blood-red knife. With this knife in hand, Fan Shanlu raised her head and chopped down at the 9 firebirds. The knife collapsed into 9 parts and shot toward the 9 birds to block them. Borrowing this time, Wang Lin reached out with his left hand and the Li Guang bow appeared. His right hand reached for the string. With a roar, sweat appeared on his forehead and golden light shone in his eyes as he drew the bow. The sovereign's calculation was not wrong. Wang Lin really only had the power to draw the bow twice. However, what the sovereign didn't know was that Wang Lin had another drop of celestial blood. This drop of blood was what Xu Ligua and Liu Jinbiao had cheated from the madman and was eventually taken by Wang Lin. Although this drop of blood didn't contain much power, it was enough to cause the sovereign to miscalculate. With a buzz, the Li Guang bow was drawn and the arrow appeared. The moment the arrow appeared, Wang Lin let go and the bowstring slammed back, shooting the arrow out. At this moment, the sound of the arrow replaced all sounds in this world. In an instant, the arrow flew past Fan Shanlu. It caused her hair to flutter and cut off a few strands. After flashing by her, the arrow collided with the 9 firebirds. Thunderous rumbles echoed and a powerful shockwave spread. Fan Shanlu was hit by the shockwave and coughed out blood. Wang Lin grabbed her and the two left without even looking back to see the result. My cave is 4 million kilometers away. There are formations there that can resist for some time. Fan Shanlu's voice echoed. Wang Lin didn't say a word as he grabbed her hand and they disappeared. When they reappeared, they had moved 2 million kilometers. His face was pale and continued to rush forward. Wang Lin rushed forward and didn't dare to stop at all, but he sent out a divine sense message to Fan Shanlu. Is he the 7-colored celestial sovereign? He is and is not. Before Fan Shanlu finished speaking, a slow voice came from behind them. This old man is certainly the 7-colored celestial sovereign. I originally didn't want to kill you and just wanted to retrieve the bow and arrow. I will give you one last chance to give that bow and arrow to me. In the distance, the 7-colored Daoist slowly walked out. He looked no different than before. That arrow had no effect on him. However, Wang Lin didn't believe him, but this was not the time to observe. If that person wanted to hide the truth, Wang Lin wouldn't be able to tell the truth. Forget it. Since you're looking for death, this lord will help you. The 7-colored Daoist revealed a look of pity. He shook his head and pointed at Wang Lin and Fan Shanlu. With this point, a 7-colored crystal appeared from the tip of his finger. This crystal immediately shot toward Wang Lin and Fan Shanlu. It closed in an instant and then dissipated into 7-colored light that wrapped around them. If you looked from afar, you would see that they were now surrounded by the 7-colored crystal that had disappeared. At this instant, the crystal rapidly shrank. Cracking sounds echoed and Wang Lin felt intense pain from his body. Powerful pressure came from all directions to crush his body. Fan Shanlu's face turned pale. During this moment of danger, her right hand formed a seal and the 7-colored print appeared before her again. She spat out blood and it landed on the print. Sister, help me. Her voice was extremely mournful. At this moment, the stars shook and an exotic aura came out of nowhere. On the immortal astral continent, there was an icy land that was covered in white snow. It was cold enough to freeze all life to death, even cultivators found it difficult to survive here. In this frozen land, there was a mountain of ice, and a woman was sitting on top of this mountain. Her appearance was exactly the same as Fan Shanlu. At this instant, she suddenly opened her eyes and pointed to the spot between her eyebrows. A burst of 7-colored light came from between her eyebrows. At the same time in the cave world, a burst of 7-colored light also appeared between Fan Shanlu's eyebrows. It was as if an external force had entered her body and made it rumble. Borrowing this power, the 7-colored print before her suddenly expanded to more than 1,000, 10,000, even 100,000 feet. It propped up the shrinking crystal that surrounded them, and the crystal suddenly collapsed. The moment it collapsed, the giant 7 print shot out toward the 7-colored Daoist. I have used all my power, take me away. Fan Shanlu's eyes dimmed and Wang Lin grabbed her. In a flash, they disappeared and reappeared more than 2 million kilometers away. Before him was a giant ship that was the size of a mortal city. It was completely purple and looked majestic. He was surrounded by layers of protection that gave off a powerful pressure. The sail of the ship moved without any wind, and there was a ghostly face on the sail, creating a shocking sight. Wang Lin and Fan Shanlu rushed into the layers of protection. Fan Shanlu's body gave off a glow and none of the protection layers stopped them from entering. The moment Wang Lin landed, he asked Fan Shanlu, "Who the hell is he?" This question had been in his heart for far too long. Fan Shanlu's face was deathly pale and she didn't respond to Wang Lin's words. She struggled to sit down and place her hands on her knees. She closed her eyes and began cultivating. 7-colored light flickered from her body, and the 7-colored light between her eyebrows became extremely bright. Eventually, a faint vortex appeared between her eyebrows. Not only did 7-colored light come out from the vortex, it was accompanied by bursts of cold energy. The moment the cold energy appeared in this large ship, the deck froze and white mist scattered. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and he retreated a few steps. However, just at this moment, Fan Shanlu's face suddenly turned red and she coughed out a mouthful of blood. The blood turned into drops of ice and scattered across the deck. Shortly after, the vortex between her eyebrows suddenly enlarged and started rotating rapidly. Wang Lin's eyes shined, and he saw a face suddenly appear inside the vortex. This face was almost identical to Fan Shanlu's, an extremely beautiful and alluring face. The moment this face appeared, Fan Shanlu revealed a painful expression and the veins on her face swelled, her expression fierce. Her eyes opened and the vortex between her eyebrows collapsed. The vortex returned back into her head and the beautiful face disappeared with it. A miserable scream came from Fan Shanlu and she coughed out blood. Her hands reformed the seals and she began cultivating again. When Wang Lin saw all of this, his expression became extremely serious. He seemed to have seen through some stuff but wasn't sure. While pondering, Wang Lin's divine sense spread out and surrounded the entire ship. Soon, the entire ship appeared in his mind. This ship was very large and there were many restrictions that even Wang Lin felt were mysterious. As his divine sense spread out, he was shocked to find that almost the entire ship was made of restrictions. Even the deck below his feet was made of restrictions. It could be said that this ship was a giant restriction formation. The layers of protection were created by the ship itself. They formed fine, overlapping layers, and it would be very difficult to break them. Wang Lin vaguely noticed the core of this formation as his divine sense spread out. It was the ghostly-faced sail on the ship. The ghostly face seemed to be alive, and its eyes were locked onto Wang Lin. Although it was completely silent, when Wang Lin was stared at by the ghostly face, he seemed to hear hideous cries and roars in his mind. This sound penetrated his mind and caused his expression to change. He couldn't help but retreat a few steps. Time restriction, life and death restriction, ancient soul restriction, annihilation restriction. Not only does this ship have the 4 ancient restrictions, but there are also many I have never seen before. If I have the time to master all these restrictions and research them, I could reach small completion in my restriction essence. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a strange light. His restriction knowledge was extraordinary, but unfortunately, most of the restrictions in this cave world were incomplete. If he tried to deduce them by force, not only would it waste a lot of time, it might be wasted effort as well. However, now it was different. The restrictions on this ship opened a new path for Wang Lin. If he could gain enlightenment and deduce them all, there might be a chance for the restriction essence to appear. Shortly after Wang Lin observed the restrictions here, a bright, 7-colored light appeared outside the ship and lit up this area. The 7-colored Daoist slowly walked over. This ship is somewhat familiar. The 7-colored Daoist looked at the ship with reminiscence in his mind. However, no matter how much he tried, he couldn't remember where he had seen this ship before. I didn't obtain the memory, so I can't remember a lot of things. The 7-colored Daoist pondered for a moment and shook his head. He then waved his right hand. Thunderous rumbles suddenly echoed. As the deck on the ship trembled violently, a muffled rumble came from outside. Wang Lin turned to look out through the protective layers. He saw that inside the 7-colored light was the calm 7-colored Daoist, who looked as if the world was between his fingers. Thunderous rumbles echoed once more, and as the deck trembled, the outermost layer of protection collapsed. The impact caused the giant ship to be pushed back a few hundred feet. Although this ship's restrictions are powerful, only 20% of them are activated. With just 20%, I fear it won't be able to stop the 7-colored Daoist. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. It was a moment of life and death. The 7-colored Daoist might not kill him for some reason, but he was going to take away the Li Guang bow and arrow. Wang Lin could not hand over the Li Guang bow. It had great use for him. It was the only thing that could allow him to suppress all the arcane void cultivators. Most importantly, he wouldn't allow his life to be in the hands of others. He didn't want his life to be controlled with just a thought. Even if he was at full power, this soul search ship could stop him for dozens of hours. Just at this moment, a cold voice came from behind Wang Lin. Fan Shanlu slowly opened her eyes. Even though less than 30% of the restrictions are activated, he is also not the same as back then. It can stop him. For 3 days, Fan Shanlu spoke coldly, and her gaze contained a hint of coldness as she looked at the seven-colored Daoist outside. There was a complicated sense of hatred in her eyes. Wang Lin turned around to look at the woman, and after a long time, he suddenly said, "You're not Fan Shanlu." The woman withdrew her gaze from outside the boat and looked at Wang Lin. A moment later, a hint of admiration appeared in her eyes and she nodded. "You're indeed worthy of someone chosen by my little sister to work with. I'm indeed not Fan Shanlu. I'm her big sister, Fan Shan Meng." Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and he carefully looked at her, but he didn't speak. "You should know my identity from my little sister. I'm the seven-colored celestial sovereign's Dao partner." As she spoke, she raised her right hand and formed a seal. With a wave, seven-colored light came from her hand and flew toward the barrier outside. After it fused with the barrier, a powerful aura came from the ship and the barrier became even stronger. The rumbles from outside the barrier were almost completely blocked out, and the sounds that reached their ears were barely detectable. "Since you are cooperating with me and my sister, I won't keep any secrets from you." Back then, 2 of the 9 sons, the Grand Empyrean Dao Yi and the ancient country's Grand Empyrean Xian Luo, appeared near our 7 Dao sect. Their powers were heavenly and they were fighting for a storage fragment that had somehow flew out from the immemorial God domain. Normally, 7-colored and I could not participate in this matter and could not get any benefits, but in the end, fortune favored us. Even now, I still don't understand how Dao Yi or Xian Luo didn't notice that a piece was missing, even if the storage fragment was broken. That missing piece landed in 7-colored's hand, and it was then that I saw his true heart. In order to cover up the aura, I gave up all my cultivation to fully suppress it and wished to quickly return to the 7 Dao sect. However, during the trip back, he backstabbed me. I was caught off guard and he took my full cultivation to suppress the fragment. He then destroyed my soul. He wanted to kill me because he was afraid the news would spread. He also needed to use my cultivation to open the fragment. After all, the fragment came from the immemorial God domain, so it would be very difficult to open. However, I didn't die. I'm a core disciple of the Great Soul sect, so a part of my soul had been left with my teacher. Teacher used the Great Reincarnation spell and allowed me to be quickly reborn. There were people inside the 7 Dao sect that listened to me, especially my little sister. I borrowed my teacher's spell to tell my little sister everything, and thus the war began. The woman slowly talked about the past. I knew that he must have opened the fragment and obtained what was inside. I also knew that he had lured Yi Mo inside and sealed the 7 Dao sect. But how could I let him succeed? I told the news to Lian Daofei, who had always coveted my beauty, and lured him to the 7 Dao sect. With my sister's connection, most of his concubines defected and caused the 7 Dao sect disciples to split. This is how the inner and outer realms formed. At this point, the woman looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged and he didn't release any fluctuations. He had speculated on most of this, and even now he only believed some of her words. There were many parts that were skimmed over, and although what she was saying sounded complete, there were still some issues. After silently pondering for a moment, Wang Lin slowly said, "What kind of place is the immemorial God domain?" There is a legend in the immortal astral continent stating that the immemorial God domain will open 9 times. Each time it opens, the person who obtains the final fortune will become a Grand Empyrean. Up until now, it has opened 9 times, and there are indeed 9 suns. Perhaps the 10th sun will appear when it opens for the 10th time. As for what the immemorial God domain is, I don't know what it is either. You said that this 7-colored is different from the 7-colored of the past. I need an answer to this. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he looked at the blurry figure smashing up the protection around the ship. The woman pondered a bit and suddenly said, "He is not complete. I don't know how he got Li Guang to help him kill Yi Mo, but I know that after I told Lian Daofei how to break into the cave, a fierce battle occurred. This battle happened shortly after Yimo died. Seven Colored then went into closed-door cultivation due to his injuries and was studying something he got from that fragment. It wasn't until later that I learned that there was a heavenly Tao inside that fragment. I didn't see that battle myself, everything is from my little sister's memory. Lian Daofei was extremely powerful, he single-handedly battled against the 4 generals and many 7 Dao sect disciples. With overwhelming strength, he seriously injured them all. It was also at this time that my little sister and several concubines rebelled and attacked with Lian Daofei. Just at the most chaotic moment, Lian Daofei flew past everyone and went toward where Seven Colored was in closed-door cultivation. This forced Seven Colored to come out and battle him. That battle was extremely fierce. Seven Colored was already injured, so he was no match. He summoned the heavenly Tao stored in the caved world and used its devouring ability to confront Lian Daofei. In the end, Lian Daofei was seriously injured and was devoured by the heavenly Tao, leaving his whereabouts unknown. However, due to his immortal celestial body, he can't die, so he should still be in this cave world. However, the heavenly Tao was also seriously injured and died. Countless drops of its blood scattered across the world and eventually dissipated. However, the fact that lives continue to be born in this cave world means that the heavenly Tao didn't die. Seven Colored's body collapsed and divided into 3 main souls. One of them contained all his spells and Tao spells, becoming the him that is outside this ship right now. Another contained his comprehension and essences. It escaped after the great battle and exists inside the inner realm. The last soul contained all of Seven Colored's memories, including how to summon the heavenly Tao and where he hid the secret he obtained from that fragment. This last soul had no essences or spells, and even now, no one knows where it is. He may be a cultivator, he may be a mortal, he may be some fierce beast. Over countless reincarnation cycles, perhaps even he has forgotten who he was, his memory still in slumber. The soul that inherited all the spells is the Seven-Colored Daoist outside. He is the most powerful one, and he has forced several of the concubines to work for him. He even took Lian Daofei's palm print servant boy to work under him before settling in the outer realm. He has been looking for the 3rd soul for all these years. He gradually obtained his own will. Once he finds the 3rd soul and devours it and then devours the 2nd soul that inherited the essences, he will become the new Seven-Colored. Similarly, the 2nd soul in the inner realm is also looking for the 3rd soul. Whichever one of them obtains the 3rd soul first will become the one in charge. Because the 3rd soul contains the memories, it is impossible for them to devour each other and fuse without it. That's why the Seven-Colored Daoist and the 2nd soul still can't devour each other. Not only them, but even the other fragments that scattered when Seven-Colored scattered can't devour each other either. When Seven-Colored died, aside from the 3 main souls, there were 7 fragments. These 7 fragments changed identities over countless reincarnations, but their souls belonged to Seven-Colored. The Seven-Colored Daoist and the 2nd soul completely ignored them. Even if they did find them, they can't be devoured, so they just let them cultivate on their own. Once they find the 3rd soul and devour the other, the remaining 7 fragments will return to them and form the complete Seven-Colored Celestial Sovereign. This is the whole secret of this cave world. A huge wave was set off in Wang Lin's heart. Earlier, Wang Lin could keep calm when this woman talked about the matter about the immortal astral continent, but after hearing everything else, he began to take deep breaths. He retreated a few steps and his expression rapidly changed. He finally knew what the 3rd one was. He finally knew that the Seven-Colored Daoist was different from the statue he had obtained. He finally knew what the woman in silver in his storage space meant when she said she hadn't opened the door. The door was very likely the door to the cave. It wasn't that someone had opened the door, but the woman before him had told the madman how to open the door. There might be some other things that didn't match up, but Wang Lin hadn't seen it himself, so he could only create his own images based on what the woman had said. Perhaps the facts might be slightly different, but this was likely the truth of what had happened. 3 souls, 7 fragments. So it turns out there are 3 souls and 7 fragments. The Sovereign said that old Ghost John should have died when they met at the Cloud Sea. The Sovereign's shock doesn't seem to be fake. Even he didn't know. Also, In the seven-colored realm in the brilliant void, when I went to save Qing Shui, the seven-colored Daoist appeared. He seemed to admire old Ghost John. He said that old Ghost John was different. Could it be that old Ghost John is the second soul? Only then would he be qualified to confront the seven-colored Daoist. Or it can be said that there is another soul inside old Ghost John, and that is the second soul. It must be like this: the war between inner and outer realms continued due to old Ghost John and the seven-colored Daoist. They were trying to find the third soul under the endless slaughter. Then who is the third soul? Wang Lin's mind trembled. This news ripped open all the fog in his mind and allowed him to see the truth. There are also the seven fragments. Back in the seven-colored realm in the brilliant void, I noticed that the seven-colored Daoist looked at Qing Shui as if he was looking at himself. I found it strange at the time, but I couldn't get the answer. However, now the answer seems obvious. Senior brother Qing Shui is one of the seven-colored celestial sovereign's seven fragments. No wonder his life is miserable, no wonder he could obtain the slaughter essence. No wonder he was so powerful as soon as he entered the third step. Among the seven, the only one I know is Qing Shui. As for the other six, who are they? Am I, Wang Lin, one as well? Wang Lin silently pondered and coldness appeared in his eyes. My goal is to kill seven-colored, only by killing him can I eliminate my hatred for him. Our purpose is the same, it will be a win for both of us. I can ask teacher to welcome you to the immortal astral continent to reduce the penalty. I don't want the seven Dao sect. Once seven-colored is dead, everything belongs to you. As for the other people in the cave world, they can't leave here. They can't survive the penalty of leaving. Not even my teacher can help with this. However, I still have another method. Although they can't enter the immortal astral continent normally, they can still reincarnate there. By using the reincarnation method, their souls can follow you to the immortal astral continent, and once their memories awaken, you can find them. This is the best method I can think of. Wang Lin silently pondered for a long time. He looked up at the woman while pondering. Even if we cooperate, with the power of the seven-colored Daoist and old Ghost John, we are no match. How do we kill them? Hearing Wang Lin's words, the woman laughed. It has to be said that the woman was extremely beautiful. When she laughed, she was like a flower blooming and would make one's heart pound. I have two methods of killing seven-colored. Because of the countless seals on the cave and the destruction left on the cave during the Great War, I'm unable to come in person. I can only borrow my little sister's body and gather a bit of my origin soul here. However, if you can lure the seven-colored Daoist or the second soul to the core of the cave, where the door to the cave is, then I can gather more of my origin soul. Then I can kill them with my own strength. That is the first method. This method is not perfect, but I still have a second method. The key is the third soul. I'll teach you a spell, and if you can find the third soul, you can use this spell to devour it and completely erase its existence. From then on, you will be the third soul. I'll help you devour the seven-colored Daoist and the second soul. You will absorb the remaining seven fragments, and from that moment on, you will be seven-colored. My little sister and I can stay with you. She can be your concubine and I can be your Dao partner. Then everything will return back to its original trajectory. If you have other women, they can also become your concubines. Even on the immortal astral continent, if you take fancy to any female cultivator, I can capture them for you and we can cultivate together. Seven-colored was like that back then. I helped him capture a lot of female cultivators. Aside from my little sister, I helped him find most of his 8 concubines. With the help of my teacher, once we pair cultivate, our souls will fuse and our cultivation levels will increase. With the treasure you obtain from that fragment from the immemorial gold domain, we can have free reign on the immortal astral continent. It is much better than being stuck in a mere cave world. The woman smiled and her words slowly drifted toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin calmed his heart and looked at the woman. For some reason, he thought of something he had encountered a long time ago. That matter had left a profound feeling on Wang Lin. Although it had been more than 1,000 years, he still couldn't forget it. In the demon spirit land, Wang Lin had met the sovereign's daughter, the holy ancestor of the Tattoo clan. She was extremely miserable, her eyes were dug out, and her whole body was suppressed in Qing Lin's cave. Her resentment was monstrous. This woman's resentment toward Qing Lin was very similar to that of the woman before him. That woman's words were extremely mournful, and Wang Lin had almost believed her. However, he eventually heard what had happened personally from Qing Lin, and it confused him. He didn't know who was right in this matter. We can talk about this matter later. Right now, the important matter is how do we avoid the pursuit of the seven-colored Daoist outside. The moment Wang Lin heard her words, he sneered in his heart. However, he was cunning and wouldn't refuse her outright. After all, their initial cooperation of killing seven-colored benefited everyone. This matter is not difficult. Once we exchange oath of blood that we will cooperate, then I'll manipulate this ship to safely send you out. The woman smiled. Oath of blood? Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and he suddenly understood. Her leading him here and saying those words, there was obviously a deeper meaning. This matter is not urgent. Where is the altar you talked about back then? This video will end here.